My ex is taking his new girl on our honeymoon. We were together for 8 years. We were high school sweethearts, went through college together, started our careers and even bought a house together. I loved him with every fiber of my being. I travel a lot for work, and after a 2-week trip in April I started to notice some red flags. When I got home I noticed he had bought a box of latex and they were in the plastic bag still on the couch. This kind of confused me because he hadn't bought latex in literally years, but I just shrugged it off. But then we had intimacy and he was being much more adventurous than he usually would be. I always tried to spice things up, but he would shut me down pretty hard. So up till this point things were pretty vanilla. So this really caused me to feel weird. He started going out drinking with work buddies pretty consistently, which was unlike him before. I kind of thought it was stress from work and stress from the wedding that was bothering him, so I was trying to give him space. After the strange intimacy though I stayed awake and went through his phone. Turns out he had been talking with this girl from work very suggestively and she'd even been to a few of these parties, and according to the text they had been at the least incredibly flirtatious together. She used the words, "At one point at least I can tell myself I'm not a homewrecker." I was in shock. I mean, this man and I have a mortgage together and we're a few months away from being married. I didn't know what to do. Later that next night I asked if the wedding was bothering him and if that was the source of his stress and disconnect. I told him I loved him more than a wedding and that I would gladly cancel if it meant saving our relationship. He said he didn't know if it was worth saving at all. We were both crying on the couch. I was a complete mess and he tells me that he had a work training that night that he needed to go to, but he would call out if I asked. I told him he could go and so he did. He left at 11 p.m. and didn't come home until around 6 a.m. He crawled into bed and told me he loved me and started to initiate intimacy. I thought this was a good sign that he still wanted to be together and find a way to fix things. So we had intimacy. But then without asking or giving me a heads up he came inside of me. In our time together he never did that unless he had a condom. And he knew it made me uncomfortable, so it was an incredibly rare occurrence. I just froze. I didn't know what that meant. It felt like a weird last-ditch effort to get me pregnant, or a super weird control thing. Again I waited till he fell asleep and then I looked at the messages again. It turns out he did not have a training he needed to go to that night. Instead he went to her house. I recorded all of the messages so that 1, he couldn't gaslight me, and 2, I couldn't gaslight myself about the contents of what I saw. Thankful I did this because it has helped to show myself I'm not crazy. It was about 8 a.m. and he was sound asleep. I threw the phone at him as hard as I could and screamed, "Who the F is her name?" He looked at me completely stunned and said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I saw her in your messages. What happened?" And he kept playing dumb. Eventually he admitted to seeing her at work parties and that they kissed. He swears even to this day that all they did was kiss. But I'm not an idiot. I know 2 grown adults don't see each other that early in the morning and just kiss. Saving the rest of the details, he moved out on his own accord. And this summer I have been putting aside money to refinance the home into my name. Hopefully we'll be done in a couple weeks. We would have been getting married this month. So that's been difficult enough. But then I found out through a mutual friend that he's taking her on our would-be honeymoon. I can't believe someone could be so evil. I can't believe someone I loved so much would betray me so utterly. I can't get over that I gave this man my soul and he crushed it without even a shred of second thought. I'm a feminist through and through. I'm a girl's girl. But this woman knew I existed. Part of it for her was being able to steal him. To be so irresistible that she could do that must have been a huge effed up ego boost for her. But man, I can't imagine being okay with being the other woman and then going on the honeymoon and being okay with that. The one thing that is bringing me comfort in this is knowing that when they have intimacy on this trip there's no way they can't think of me. I hate her. I hate him.